All right. Welcome back to Rooted, the Arbor podcast for episode 13 with a very special guest, as always, on the pod. We really value having artists on here to speak directly with you. We have Caleb Elzinga today, and joining myself, Jake Vanderhayden, your host and moderator, with my other Art Arbor team member, Andrew Arden, over here. Hello. But yeah, let's just kick it off as usual. Caleb, let us know a little bit about you and what you've been up to lately.
Hey, I'm Caleb Elzinga. I play the saxophone. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, freelance as much as possible because I love music. I love playing the saxophone. And I think for the last 10, 15 years, I've sort of devoted myself to being the best sideman I can possibly be. And that word sideman sort of showed up for me early on in music school. Hank Mobley is another, like, a great example of a sideman is Hank Mobley, he did have his own albums, but he was also like the number one call saxophone player for everybody else's album. I was like, that's cool. That's really, really cool. So I heard that and I liked the way that he played, and I liked the idea that he was giving his talents to other people's projects. And I was like, I think that's what I want to do too. So, just spent the last 15 years freelancing, working on other people's music, currently, and, jumping from band to band to band, whether I'm in it full time or just like, hey, we've got this really cool show coming up. We could use like the extra firepower. Let's go. Super down for that. Most recently, I've been playing a bunch with Joe Hertler and the Rainbow Seekers. I joined the band back in 2021. We've been playing a ton and writing music. We have a new album we're currently working on. We're hoping that comes out next year sometime. So we're still in the writing phase of that. So nothing to rush into, but yeah, that's what I do. Play saxophone.
Excellent.
What else do I do?
But you mentioned something that's, I find interesting is, like, at least me, my journey, my music journey there was a point where I was like, I want to be in somewhat the center stage, like the spotlight on me, not necessarily the person who is the side guy. I end up making my musical career also only being the side guy. Like, I don't have any of my own music at all. When was there a point where things kind of switched for you, or was it very early on at a young age where, like, no, I want this, not that?
I don't know if it was like an age thing or an experience thing. I think it was just that idea of giving. Obviously, like, I love the saxophone. I practice, I learn, I continue to learn all those things, but taking all of that, all of what I'm able to do, all my experiences, and giving those experiences to other artists, I think that is just what excited me about it. I think an interesting note to that is a lot of the times that I'm called is to, in many ways, be some sort of feature. Partly that's just a horn thing, right? Not every band has horn players. So if you do bring on a horn, if it's one show or for this one recording, you want to call the dude that can do it the best, or, among the dudes that can do it. Dudes are, so it's interesting. Like, I am the sideman, but in a way that sometimes gets to be like featuring Caleb Elzinga, or my time with the Rainbow Seekers. I'm very much I'm very much a front man of the band visually and energetically, where Joe is the head of the band. He's the face of the band, the name, all those things. He's the one addressing the audience during the shows and obviously singing and playing. And I'm the saxophone player, but on top of being a saxophone player, being that sideman, at least in this case, I'm actually able and have been able to explore like what it feels like to command the front of the stage and be a front man. More from like an entertainment perspective. But also like most bands I play with, Rainbow Seekers included, they give me a lot of room. They give me a lot of room to improvise. So I kind of have that. I know I'm a sideman guy, but I bring to the table the fierceness or the energy of, you know, what I would hope to say it like a top tier soloist, somebody that can like pack a punch.
Spotlight energy. I like that.
Spotlight energy, but from a role where I could also tuck back in here and just do, you know, the 2-step and some horn hits. But if you need me, I can be right here and, you know, yay, crowd goes wild.
Yay, saxophone.
You know?
Yeah.
Yay, saxophone, bright, shiny, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I started like, you know, I want to be the sideman. I get to be that. And then the Rainbow Seekers have let me play with that. And it's been an interesting thing. Like, so I've been playing a lot of shows with Tony Guerin's band, Why Not? And a lot of times, you know, there's a lot of horn parts to that. Viola and saxophone have a lot of those sharing parts. But at least how I feel playing in that band, Tony also gives me a lot of room. Or it's like, all right, here comes the build. Caleb, it's yours. Take us out. You know, and I'm just like, all right, scream and just go and push. Tony gives me that room. And I think it's also like, he doesn't just give it to me. He trusts me with that room. Like, hey, we're building this song. It's going really well. Everybody's having a great time dancing. Caleb, can you take it to the next level? And also like, don't screw it up. You know, don't take it from here and go. So there's trust involved with that too.
Yeah.
And I think just years of doing that and you know, managing that frontman sideman relationship with the Rainbow Seekers, I've figured out a way to be trustworthy in that pushing energy space. So that's been fun.
Yeah. What are some other things that you have kind of going on right now? Fresh things coming up? Whatnot?
Not saxophone related. Well, yeah, not saxophone related. I work at Byron Center Public Schools with their jazz program, with their marching band program. So right now we're full swing marching band. We've been going to state finals every year for the last 15 years, and we're looking to continue that. They have a really great program there. And so that right now, a lot of my time is in that. And we just hit, we're just about getting into October. And October is that final push before November 2nd at Ford Field for state final. So this next month is going to be a lot less playing shows, a lot more like, all right, marching band. And yeah. So it's kind of it's a shift. I went from this summer playing a ton of music, ton of saxophone. I played lead alto with the Grand Rapids Jazz Orchestra. That was super fun. I very rarely get to play alto in any capacity. And when you get to be lead alto in a big band, it's like you're in control of the time from the saxophone section's perspective, the time, the inflection, the swing feel, articulation. So getting to do that, like there's a running joke. Michael Deese told me this one time. He's like, every lead tenor thinks they're the lead tenor alto, right? Your lead tenor is trying to control the band and the swing and the articulation from their side. But if you know your role, you know that you're subservient to the lead alto. And so deep down, I'm like, I know this. I'm a tenor player and I want to lead. Now I get to actually hold an alto and do the thing that my tenor body wanted to be doing the whole time. So nice little like, yay, we got it, you know. I did that. I played a cover band show with a band called Stone Street Revival in Hastings. That was super fun. And one of those things too, like there's a lot of trust in the community, and in a way I feel like I've done a good job in building a lot of that trust. So this was a recommendation. They didn't know me, but through multiple people, it was like, hey, if you need a guy that can read charts, show up on time, and also if you need him to solo, he'll rip the roof off the place, call Caleb. And so they did, and I did my job, and it went really well. And I was like, yeah, sweet, we trusted you to do it, and you came through. I played Electric Forest with Why Not, all in the same week. It was like big band, lead alto, Stone Street Revival cover gig, reading charts to Electric Forest, just push and push and push. So that was a sweet summer. Now I'm in marching band phase. That'll go till November. That's sort of this right now. But to slide it back into like career, music, all those things, we're the Rainbow Seekers right now are working on our sixth studio album, and where Joe does most of the writing from his home studio, and the door is always open, right? Hey, I've got this idea for this section. You've already written this chunk. Let me come over and I can write some horn parts to it. So doors wide open. I'm trying to go to Ann Arbor, once a month at least, to just go hang out or just from home. I got my little home studio here. Good mic, good interface, reliable computer. So just recording from home as much as I can too, and giving that way. But yeah, so recording an album, marching band during my Monday through Friday, and seemingly always working, which is good. Seemingly, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely keep busy. I know a couple of times I've tried to hire you on for a gig and you're booked, so that's a good problem to have.
I think the last one I was able to do was that wedding in Holland. Andrew, I think you were on that.
I remember that. Yeah,
that was like 2 years ago.
Yep. Well, yeah, two and a half years. Well, 2.5 years ago. Because I think it was, 2 years ago.
Dang.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing with being the in-demand sideman in town is you get around and you get to play with a lot of different people. It's definitely a good thing, and
I enjoy it.
It seems from what you've said too. It's like all in 1 week you can go from like marching band educational setting, and then you kind of go back into the studio work. You go into a big band gig. Like you just get so much exposure from that versus like if you were doing your own thing, you really like specifically as like the spotlight, like you mentioned earlier, like you have to pioneer that space and really like find your voice to make that your full thing. But you can also, I feel like, find your voice and your expression through all these different mediums, and it is just like the joy of the saxophone. Like playing myself, find that through different mediums too. It's like hard to really lean in and just specifically devote yourself to one thing. I feel like it's just really cool to meet new people and to take on different types of projects and, spread things. Obviously education is such an important thing too, and passing it forward.
Yeah. I work at the high school that I went to school. I'm working for the same director that was there, who was my very first saxophone teacher. So in many ways it's that forward giving. Obviously it's a paid position too, but as far as like investing the time into the program, feels like I'm investing time into little baby old me, 15 years ago. So
you definitely are. Yeah. We all remember those teachers that will have like that special place, as like a little high school, middle school. You don't know what's going on. You're just trying to hang out. And, for me, it was hit a drum every once in a while. And I mean, I distinctly remember those times being with my teacher, and they were, just special. And little did I know how eventually that little spark turned into, a deep part of me is music and drums and artistry. As a kid, I didn't think twice about that. I was just trying to tune the snare drum. I was just thinking about, I was just like, what is this thing? And I need to tape my sticks, and
Right. It's one piece of the culture given to you, and you're like, oh, we do this now. Oh, we tune drums now. Yeah. Oh, we have more than one drum. Yeah. Just that beautiful.
Your world just expands. Yeah. Wow, this is nice. I really like. It sounds like you've really pieced a career for yourself, instead of it being like to Jake's point, you kind of almost pigeonhole yourself into finding your voice, making that work, and that can be super difficult to get traction. So along this journey, like in the last, say, like 3 or some of these years more recently, what are some of this kind of problems or roadblocks or struggles kind of getting to this point, and maybe some now that you are facing, and kind of your path out?
Okay, the first thing I think about is in all of this, like how I've set up that backdrop is I'm playing saxophone, I'm playing music, I'm being creative, I have this outlet, but so much of that process and building that trust is community building and working directly with people. And so, you know, when you're working with people, the first thing is not everybody's going to like you. And and that could be for multiple reasons. They don't like you because I have glasses. And this is all fake. I'm not
Sure.
You know, I'm not, just examples, right?
We can bleep out anyone's name you want to drop if that.
Therapy session after if you need it. Yeah.
That's how you make more enemies.
Yeah.
But no, like, so you're balancing that. How do you and I this is something I actually truly struggle with from like a very personal level too, of I feel like, because how I get work is through the relationships with people, and whether or not I'm liked or disliked might depend on whether or not I get paid or picked for a certain gig, right? Then it would be in my best interest to live a life where everybody likes me, or I tailor myself to everybody around me. Like, okay, this person likes this version of Caleb, so when I'm playing in this band, or I'm texting this, or I'm on whatever, then I am this guy. And then when I'm over here, I'm this guy. And when I'm over here, I'm this guy. That might work in your superficial, early, like, hey, we need you to just play this one gig. Thanks so much. Peace out. That could maybe work. You want to be somebody that's easy to work with. But now I've been doing that for 15 years. I'm trying to figure out how not to just, because in general, I feel like I am a good dude, nice dude. How do I be a good dude and still like have a standard of this is where I want to put my time. This is where I don't want to put my time, and being able to say no, or being able to say yes, but with some sort of terms, and not necessarily like terms that I have to like say, but like, all right, I'm going to say yes to this thing, but I can't bend over backwards to make it happen.
Yep.
Right.
It's almost like authenticity with boundaries.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you want to be yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectly said. And doing all of that at the risk of what might feel scary, because, well, if I put these boundaries, then these people might not like me anymore, and they might never call me. And then there goes X number of dollars that I'm expecting to be able to pay my bills. Right.
Sure.
Because as much as I mean, I'm in a room of musicians, right? As much as we all love music, as when you're doing it for your day job, your music needs to pay your bills. And if your relationships with other musicians now have the potential to affect how you pay your bills, like, you kind of want to tread lightly. If you are, well, this is an interesting point. If you, Jake, you kind of mentioned this, if you are your own artist and you have your own voice that you're trying to say, you know, everybody's going to have critiques, but in that case, you don't have to bend the knee to anybody. You're just doing, this is who I am. This is my music. You either take it or leave it. And that could be to your audience. That could be to the venue, or whatever the case is. And if you really believe in that, then you will find your community. You will find your venues. But I think artists in that capacity know that. And it's worth it for them. I would rather, you know, the statement could be, I would rather play my own music than somebody else's, even if I have to get a day job. I believe so much in what I have to say musically that's where all my time needs to go. I had an interesting conversation with Camille Thurman a couple years ago. She was a guest artist at Byron Center, incredible saxophone player. I think she lives in New Jersey now, or New York, close in that hub. And she kind of did the same thing. Because I asked her, like, you have your own quintet now, or your own quartet. And how did you get to a place where you have this band, but you also got called to play saxophone for Jazz at Lincoln Center, and you got called to play saxophone for John Batiste? It was like, well, because I spent so many years building the culture and being a side person, making those connections, making those friendships, always providing a good quality product for what I have to offer musically. And then I asked the question, I was like, how did you switch from that to now solely working on your own music and in a way that's authentic to yourself, but also not like just letting this community just drop, right? You didn't just abandon the community to work on your own music. She's a person of character. So she curated or, helped develop this community, this culture, and came over here, started working on her own thing. And it was just like, it was hard because the amount of time I had available to give to others was shifting, because that time that I was giving to others now needs to be shifted into giving to myself. And in myself, it's writing, it's practicing, it's writing the charts out, getting rehearsals together, booking the shows, making sure everybody gets paid. And so in no way is she, any less a member of the community, but she knew that she had something else to say and pushing your energy towards that. So forgot how I got on that tangent, but
no, that was good. It was, I asked some of the struggles or roadblocks and just kind of your way around them or through them or under them or
just with what I had said with Camille. I think she said it in a way that was just like, all the people in the community that I played with or used to play with or had played with at one point, they're all still my friends. And I still support them. I just can't support them with my time or my music as often. So I think for me, in that light a little bit, but I am still doing that, is how do I operate in that community, but also give myself time or give myself authenticity or allow myself to be authentic in the pursuit of community and culture. Because right now I don't have a project of my own that I'm working on. Hopefully in the future. I've said it a bunch to some friends recently. I want to write an album, the Caleb Elzinga debut album, saxophone quartet, maybe a quintet, something like that. It needs to happen. I would love it to happen. And I think at this point I'm ready for a shift like that, but I love this community so much. I want to do it again in an authentic and respectful way. That's just like,
sure.
Well, Caleb just doesn't care about anybody anymore because he's just worried about himself. That's not me. That's not what that's not who I want to be.
Sure. There's also a level of projection to your point earlier about how people see you, so you can only do so much. At the end of the day, you've just got to learn to let go and be like, all right, I got to do my thing because it's my life. And at the end of the day, if that makes them uncomfortable or frustrated, like that's just what it is. May they be well in their journey. And then
I think that's part of that self struggle is I struggle with that on a day-to-day basis, and just realizing that it isn't as black and white as that. And that projection isn't good for anybody. So I don't have to do that. It's not real. It's not real. So yeah.
I think it's really interesting how you mentioned, in that story that you shared, how like building that community and getting yourself in that service, either just playing with others or educating or all these various capacities is like what got her to that point. Right. And then, you're on that similar journey where it's like, you're looking to do something in your own direction, but it's like, all those steps that you've taken here, it's like, it didn't happen in a vacuum, right? It's that community that weaves everything together. So it's like, how do you, transition from that heavy participation in the community out of it? We had some ideas just now, but I think it's really interesting to continue to ask that question of how can, the community, support you into that. And, I think we've been asking ourselves that question here at Art Arbor. We've been at it for a few years here, and we've kind of, metaphorically put that spotlight on ourselves where we're like, we're going to do this thing. And we have all these ideas and things that we want to do, but we've taken a little bit of a step back in terms of being in a community supportive role, like doing things like this, where, we're just trying to build our network and share our stories and hoping to get to where we want to go. Of course, that's always been our mission, but I think that sometimes you have to just lean into that network to find that next opportunity, that breakthrough, and use that as a power. Because even I think most people that play an instrument in band, I think that community of band is where you get started. I mean, for sure, that was the case for me, just being in a large ensemble, middle school band, great fun stuff. Finding that original sense of community there, where it's like, maybe for others it's playing on a sports team or something like that, but just being a part of like something bigger and having a contribution to that and seeing the output from it is just like so integral to the human experience. It's just such a powerful thing. I think it, probably, I'm speaking for us all here, but I'm sure, based on where we are now, that type of thing is what compelled us, to be in this pursuit. So I think that it's an interesting point of continuing to leverage those connections to get you to the next place. Like you mentioned Hank Mobley, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure that was kind of a similar journey for him of, being the go-to and delivering that quality product. And it's seemingly finding that same inspiration of what he did there, not just from the playing, but from kind of the career standpoint of, using that as a vehicle to get to where you want to go.
I think in your guys' VCOM episode, you guys had talked about this too, of we're doing this to promote other artists, but also how do we promote other artists and also kind of get paid for your own labors, right? Figuring out how to create. I think Andrew, you had said something like, it'd be nice to at least be able to cover rent or a portion of rent through this thing that you guys are obviously spending a lot of time doing. And you're spending a lot of time doing it in hopes to support other artists or other creators, right? Why is it so bad that you guys can't get a kickback from that too? And it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, we'll explore a little bit later here on maybe potential answers to that question.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, I mean,
we can't just give everything now, otherwise we drop off. We got to pod here. You got
to at least get through one ad cycle, right?
Yeah,
on YouTube, one ad cycle, and then for any of those YouTube aficionados, and also don't pay for the subscription.
I don't. I watch those ads all day.
I don't know anyone that does. I'm sure someone must be doing it, but
they get you with the YouTube TV. They're like, get the TV, get the free, adless experience, and you're like, okay, fine. I guess I'll stop watching the ads now. But yeah.
Well, even now, YouTube just rolled out YouTube Lite, Premium Lite, and Premium. So now it's like you can spend your $12 a month and you get most videos ad free. What it literally says, most. And then and then it's like, but you don't get this, and you don't get this, and you don't get this. They're all breaking out. And then you go like YouTube Premium, the real one, and you just you get all the things. It's like, okay, now that's
an extra
$5.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say for extra $125 a month, but
for real.
That's probably 50.09% of the videos are adless. And they probably get the other 49. Just so they can say that most. I don't buy it. But I'm I will say there was kind of going back to even how we all first met. There was a part of me that only really knew, talking about showing the chameleon. I just knew you're a saxophone guy, right? Saxophone. And I was like, cool, he's a great player, nice guy. And I don't even know how we got caught up in the Web3 space together, but at some point that was mentioned. And you told us actually off the pod here right before that you spend most of your day just watching videos on crypto and Web3 where you should be practicing. Which I thought was kind of funny.
Okay. Quick note on that. I will be practicing more saxophone.
Okay. We'll circle back.
We'll circle back to that. In general, I think all people based on inflation and money printing and the way that the debt-based monetary system works that we have in the world and in the US, everybody should be investing their money, period. You cannot work a day job and put all your money in savings. It's the road to bad times. And so I got into crypto because I was an investor. I've never didn't have any investment accounts, didn't have a 401k because I'm a saxophone player. I just play gigs and I get paid under the table or in cash or whatever the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you start looking at the rate of inflation and you figure out what money debasement is and printing and all that. And it's like you can work a 40-year career, save all the money in your bank account, and after 40 years, the total amount of money that you've worked your time, your blood, your sweat and tears is worth half as far as purchasing power. I'm like, I don't want to work my entire life for half of what I've been given. I want to work really, really hard and be really, really good at what I do and actually have some sort of fruit bearing after that. And the baseline of that is earn cash, get out of cash, get into assets. That's the thing. And I don't know if any of that needs to go on the thing, but that's how I got into crypto. Mm-hmm. And then through getting into crypto was my gateway into investing. And then I was like, all right, I need a Roth IRA and I need an HSA account and I need a high yield savings account. And just, I want my money to work as hard as I work. Cause I know that I put in a ton of hours for myself on saxophone. I mean, buying the computer, the microphones, the stuff, to be able to work on other people's projects and be an asset of my own to others. That takes time and effort and money. And I don't want to work this hard all the time for half in 50 years. I don't think that's too much of an ask.
No one would disagree with that, I'd say.
And that's definitely like the core of why we even started Art Arbor was the idea that, even, in today's dollars, it's a struggle for most creatives to get traction. But you're bringing up a really interesting point that we haven't specifically brought up in any of our messaging or info or the pod. So, good insight there. We've focused a lot on the short term. Obviously, we've talked about investing and there's a long-term aspect to it, but that is a good mindset to have is, that anything that you are earning today, it in the long term is definitely not worth that whatsoever. So, that's why we've wanted to explore all these different options with Web3 as one option to do that, or just increasing the margin that an artist gets for something, because right now artists are very dependent on some Web2 platform, some algorithm, something deciding what's going to happen. And the most powerful thing, I think you could agree with this, is that cash is king. That's the most powerful exchange in the present moment. And cash is king could be Bitcoin is king. It's not necessarily the United States dollar that's king, but having some kind of exchange like directly between people that doesn't involve other parties that have control over those assets, I think is the ultimate solution to our problem. I mean, if you go back to bartering and trading, if we go way back before the modern currency and financial system was in place, I mean, it would be like, I have this thing, it's worth this thing, you're going to give me this thing, it's worth this thing. In the modern environment, that's been completely evaporated for artists, where you're, like you said, you have all this equipment and you're doing all these things and you're working hard, and even in the present moment, forget that future thing. It's like, in a lot of cases, like in uploading something to Spotify, like, you are not compensated for that amount of work that went into it. And the issue that we've highlighted definitely before on the pod here is that it's a huge supply and demand issue ultimately, where the supply of the creative has gone infinitely high. There's more media on the internet and available to you every single day than there ever was I mean, obviously this has been an exponential increase with the internet, but if you look back 50 years, even 30 years ago, various points in time before the arc of the internet, that there was a more fixed supply of what was available. There was always creation happening, but what people were willing to spend on it was higher back then because the supply was lower. They had less alternatives. The example I always give in media is, everyone used to watch the same shows. Everyone used to listen to the same records. Everyone used to watch the same movies because that industry had control of the supply. And, we've talked in the pod here about this too, that those industries had, they had a really high standard for what was being produced, but now we have this, I would say, and sometimes it's a cool thing, but there's a really low standard for what can be produced now too. If someone's just live streaming them walking around wherever they are, that's considered better content in some cases than something that's been heavily crafted and produced. Like people are choosing to watch a TikTok live stream over a highly produced Netflix show. And it's like, that's a really interesting phenomenon. And it makes it really difficult for someone that's, in Netflix's case, they're spending millions of dollars producing this content where their competition is someone live streaming from their phone. It's almost impossible to be properly compensated for the investment and the work that goes into the art. So, the only real answer that we see to this is being able to, because basically if you look at, any form of compensating an artist, except for, I would say in the case of buying physical art, like I'm going to buy this canvas that you painted on and I now own that asset, that everything else is like rent seeking behavior, right? Like I'm going to sell you a ticket and you're renting my time, or I'm going to buy your album, and that's somewhat of an asset, but people don't want to, the model now is where I can just go get all the albums on Spotify, pay my $10 to $15 a month, and you get nothing out of it because there's no ownership of anything. So the key that we see is like bringing that ownership back on both sides of the equation, where the fan, the client, the customer, the consumer, whatever you want to call them, that they own an asset that's appreciating. And then on the other side of it, that you as an artist have some appreciating asset as well. So, that's where Web3 technology can really be leveraged, where, the fan or the consumer of the art is owning an asset that's appreciating and thus giving you financial support directly when they purchase it. And then you have that to reinvest into yourself. But if you receive that in cryptocurrency, then that currency that you're receiving can also be an appreciating asset for you. So that's why we see so much power in this technology, versus just paying for things in the exchange of dollars, where the inflation is a constant, money printing is a constant. It's just the reality of the world. We have to find a better way to increase the value of what artists are delivering, and making sure that with that ever increasing supply, that there is an increase in demand. And there's a lot of things to do in the space to increase demand, especially with, the rise of the niche, where, basically the algorithms are telling you what you're going to be interested in, who you're going to be watching and interested in. Finding ways to bring like physical and digital community together for the art and for the exchange of value is, ultimately what we're trying to figure out here. But enough of me talking. I'd like to go back to your thoughts maybe on that, or looping back to what you said before I started my TED talk there.
Well, no, you bring up an interesting thing. I had a couple of years ago, when I first got into sort of the crypto world, 2021 was a massive year for NFTs, right? Mm-hmm. Bored Ape Yacht Clubs were selling for millions of dollars. And all of the spinoffs. Then you've got Mutant Apes. You've got what was that? Cuddly Kittens, or I don't know.
Pudgy Penguins.
Pudgy Penguins. Yeah.
Pudgy Penguins is pretty huge now too.
Still relevant.
That's I think it's kind of an outlier to where you're going. So maybe I shouldn't have said that, but
no, same thing, right? Essentially, what I'm getting is 2021 NFTs were huge, and we also saw Travis Scott do like the full full VR, what was it, concert hosted on
Fortnite,
right?
Yep.
And the way that you got your ticket to that event, I believe, was an NFT. You had to buy an NFT to have access to that live concert. And so I was like, this is huge. And like somebody like Travis Scott is doing it. Like, everybody jump on board. That obviously didn't, like, all of that took place, but the NFT craze is completely dead, or at least simmering way down here. Nobody's talking about NFTs right now. Long story short, the reason I brought that up is back in 2021, 22, sort of during that bear market area, like there's going to be a time where NFTs come back. There's a use case for them. And I was talking to the Rainbow Seekers. I was like, Joe, in what sort of way could we create a Rainbow Seeker NFT or the Rainbow Seeker token? And what would be the purpose of that? And, I don't have the answer, but I was just like talking about it. I just in the attempt to figure it out a little bit, I took my iPad, created a little drawing, like a reverse draw line over here, and then it went like that, and I just mirrored it like that. I did a couple of those on my iPad, saved them as JPEGs, and I uploaded them on OpenSea. Just like I'm not going to make any money off of them. They took me 5 minutes to make each, but I want to just try and see what this is. How do you create it? What's a mint? How do you go and get a wallet figured out and pay for the mint? And who's paying for what? And so I was just trying things, and in talking to like the Rainbow Seekers, we don't know how to use it. We don't know why we would do it yet. And we also feel like our client, or not client base, but like our community also just doesn't have any roots in there. It's like, sweet, you created 500 sunflower NFTs, all, Joe Hurtler and the Rainbow Seeker inspired or connected to. What does that give you? Does that give you 10% discount to all tickets from now till forever? And how do you integrate that when we buy tickets through like eTix or Ticketmaster, which are all Web 2 platforms? Can you integrate your NFT Web 3 situation to your Ticketmaster, and that's how you keep getting your 10% discount for life? I don't know, so just, Jake, to your point, there's ways to do it. I've asked a few of the questions and tried to get the conversation going, at least within the Rainbow Seekers, and really didn't get very far. I shared with you guys earlier this, it's called the Sachs DAO Bear Market Survival Manual. And basically I was like, well, if I can't do it for the Rainbow Seekers, what would it look like if Caleb Elzinga, the saxophone player, had a token or an NFT? And just kind of jumped it into ChatGPT, and it kind of built me a strategy for it. I read through it. This is like I wish I had the old date, because I sent it to you guys. I updated it. Oh, wait. Today's not. Oh, no. March 6th, 2025, I think, is when I did this. So actually this year.
Wow.
I read through it. I haven't read through it since. But if you guys want to look at that, just to see like what ChatGPT had to say about it, I don't know, just how do we take Web3 as an artist? How can we connect the artist to the community, to the ticket buyers, to the fans, and somehow create value for both sides? And I think that's a huge win for Web3, because that can happen. In Web2, I don't think that can happen. In Web2, you have a concert, and you have people who want to go to the concert, and they give you money and they go to the concert. I guess that's win-win for everybody, but it's not like a long-lasting. I'm a part
temporary.
Of it. I own, like you guys did the sweatshirt giveaway and the NFT drop, right?
Yep.
Like, you own that. You own a part of Arbor for forever until you sell that NFT to somewhere else, or whatever the case is. It's yours, protected by the blockchain. So we can.
I want to talk on. You mentioned your community not having roots there, which I love the tie-in for like the pun with roots and Arbor. So that was nice. I'm not sure you did that intentional, but cheers. I would to kind of speak onto that. We did, to your point, the Series 1 NFT. We were like, sweetness. We got everything hooked up. We have a Discord community that's verified through the NFT wallet holder. We did all of this stuff. Like, spent hours and hours building this kind of little ecosystem for people who bought the NFT to like interact with us. And I mean, it was great. We're like, awesome. Like people are going to, communicate and we can Substack and da-da-da. So great. We're like, all right, boys, we got to get people in the door, right? Let's go. So we did that. We were like, hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, friend, hey, sister, and get them on there, right? I sat down with my partner, my lovely partner who I live with, 4 separate times for at least 20 to maybe 45 minutes each time. We never bought the NFT, bro.
And we're just on OpenSea. Like this is nothing crazy. the biggest platform.
With the Coinbase wallet, the largest base, the largest wallet, most integrated with the ecosystem of our current reality. With the other OpenSea, largest, right? MoonPay, another large one. Chase flagged it like 3 times. They're like, no, you can't do this. She was like, hey, I don't want to put my social security number in. That's kind of creepy. I'm like, valid. So they're like, you can't buy it now because you're not going to do this. And then so like I went 4, 5, 6 different routes to get to the same result, right? Because you can do that. None of them worked. And we're just like, I'm literally sitting. I'm sitting with my partner here. I could imagine having a friend halfway across the United States try to buy this thing right now who doesn't have a wallet.
And has never heard of it.
I would love to support you, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Sure. We made a guide. No problem, friend. Here's our guide for you. That might work, though. It might work.
Unless Chase flags it again.
Yeah.
And then it's completely out of your hands. You can do all the right steps, but the payment rails, the TradFi side needs to get on board and just make even that connection. Like that connection isn't completed yet.
No.
And so now you and me, who have no say in that connection, are trying to well, if you do this via MoonPay, then you got to do this, but you might get charged that extra $30 fee because you're doing it through your credit card. I've screwed up. I've done that before.
Yeah.
I forgot what they treat it like an advance. Like, no, sure. It's not an advance. But I ended up having to do it that way because I couldn't connect my bank account at the time. And so I used the card to do it. Yeah. And then I got charged $30 for the advance fee via the credit card because they weren't connected. They weren't integrated with MoonPay or whatever it was that I was using at the time. Right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was like, okay, there's $30 for the credit card cash advance plus the cost of the token or the NFT or whatever it is that I was buying. Plus it was probably on Ethereum. So I'm paying $50 just in transaction fees. Like, regular people don't want anything to do with it, and I don't blame them.
Absolutely not.
Really,
I don't blame them
right now.
I think there's been, okay, put on your tinfoil hats here for a second. Yeah, there we go. We're ready now.
That's aluminum. Sorry.
So I think that there's been like an intentional execution of TradFi trying to shut this down in cooperation with
Choke Point 2.0. Sorry.
In
foil hat.
Yeah, there you go. In cooperation with governments, just because of the power that they saw in that. I think, like you mentioned during the boom in 2021, 2022, that they saw how much power there was in this direct exchange and this ownership of asset where there was no control. And I mean, I will caveat all this by saying that there's like some risk that some people that were getting into that they didn't understand. I think part of it is consumer protection and fraud protection, and the whole pump and dump thing, people putting their life savings into something and the rug getting pulled out from under them. That there's something to be said there of just protecting people. There's a good side to it, but I definitely think there's the other side of it where it's like, there is a choice, to limit and throttle the performance of these platforms, so that there can be stability and control maintained until the powers that be have some kind of control and regulation over these platforms and over these exchanges. Because right now, there's basically unless you're dealing in physical cash, there's a trail of every transaction that's going on. And, yeah, the other thing to remember about dollars is that they're all notes of debt. It says the full faith and trust of the government backing a dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all that a dollar is a promise. There's, I think we've talked on the pod here before, but yeah, dollars are not backed by anything. They're just backed by a promise that they're worth something. So now that there is, a direct alternative to that, where it's like, okay, well, basically I can promise you something for this other asset, then without the dollar being involved, there's no strength in those other assets. So I think, that block for us in the Web3 space is truly, created by the institution itself. Like in this case, where we were trying to propose this NFT setup where there's, hey, even though we're using dollars to convert into crypto, you're using this crypto to purchase this NFT that gives you these access and benefits to what we're providing as an organization. But there was a check on that power where it really is, in terms of a social security number, that's a government backed system, and something that's very, your credit and your, all these things, these systems that were integrated into, whether we really want to or not, we have to participate in. And our banking and our cards and everything are so restricted by, maintaining the order of the system. So, until some of those things change, it really is a challenge. And that's why we, what I've told our team coming out of we had a whole debrief. I don't know if we posted it yet, but maybe by the time this is posted, it'll be posted, but kind of a debrief on our pivot coming out of our NFT experience was that it makes viability for our mission still, because if it was that easy to go on to OpenSea and to, have someone put in their credit card and purchase something, then there wouldn't be a reason for us to exist. But like what we want to do with Art Arbor is to demystify all of that, simplify the process down to where it isn't a big task for artists to launch something like this. Like we want artists to be able to set up something with some simplicity and have their base also reciprocate on their end, purchase with simplicity, and have that ongoing relationship and have that asset mean something more than just like that rent that you're paying to an artist, that you have a deeper relationship and ownership on both ends of the transaction.
Yeah. And beyond something like a Patreon too. Patreon is you're supporting an artist, and the artist is there, they're being supported to create their art. But also now they have a second layer expectation of, okay, these people on Patreon are paying me to support my art, but also I need to create extra content and extra art just to provide it to these people that are paying me to do this art. That it's a beautiful thing, and that relationship has made it possible for so many artists.
Yeah.
But when I think about sometimes how hard it is to make content, even Andrew, you and I spent all summer trying to convince me to make content. That's how it feels, at least.
Sure.
I'm just like, okay, Patreon supply an artist with funds to create their art. Well, for you to feel good about that support, you're now going to also get this. Well, what you want them to do is spend their time creating their art. That's where the most creativity, the best product is going to come from. But now you have to take time out of that to now, thanks for the support. Here's extra content. Here's the behind the scenes, which, some people are good at doing that. Some people are good at both sides, but not everybody is.
Not everyone. And I think to the point, it's like, putting a Band-Aid over a scar, over a major cut. Like there's a major gap here in the way the Web 2 is kind of built off of this profit interest first now. And whereas to your point, Web 3 takes out the middleman. Like there's not really much of a need for a Patreon.
Right.
There still is some need in some regard, but that power goes away, and it's just between me and the fan now, me and the community. Like you just go buy the thing. We have these channels of communication and accessibility, and we're good. Like you don't need to see me through, Instagram or see me through Patreon, it's just you and me. Like, but until, well, I guess I want to take a moment here and frame this all into the question that we proposed before the pod, which we've been stewing on this whole time. Shout out to Nate Cook, one of our previous pod guests. He texted me this, and I think it's such a great question. So it comes down to, how do artists and creatives take advantage of Web3 and even a community building and monetization aspect? And then the second half is it then worth it today to invest as an artist, as a creative, to invest your energy to building a brand on Web3 platforms? I think we've kind of talked about a little bit that it's difficult now to get your people onto the platforms. But the caveat is, if you have people who are young, willing, or maybe are already wallet carrying people, crypto people, then the barrier of entry is a lot lower. The challenge really is getting people from having no idea to hearing Bitcoin on the news to actually having a wallet to actually engage on those platforms. To Jake's point, that's where that's where we would like to come in and just expedite that, make it super easy for people, because that is the barrier of entry at this point that makes it so difficult.
Yep. You guys, well, to the second part of that question from Nate was, is it worth it right today for artists to do it? And Andrew, well, I mean, the two of you guys kind of just said it. Like, you sat down with your partner 4 to 5 separate times, didn't work. Then you try to get your friend to do it. It's like, you guys already built the infrastructure, and you minted the NFTs to be bought. You did all of the work
there
already, and very little to show for it. So I think the answer to that second part of the question is no. Right now, it's not, because there goes, the fact that you already have it and you guys are knowing that you want to keep this thing going. Okay, that's one thing. But for a new artist that's just trying to, I got to write our first album, or I'm on to the second album because the first one is doing well or not well, whatever the case is. And we got to book shows. Like, if a band, like this, it's two different things. Even this, right? If you're a band that doesn't have a manager and you're self-managing, you're the ones cold calling, you're the ones emailing, you're writing the music, you're practicing, you're rehearsing, you're writing. Where are you going to get all this extra time to invest in creating this Web3 platform, which, again, today is not going to get you anything? If you have a manager who's maybe all right, we should do this thing in the future, but I can hire somebody to go do it for us while you guys keep writing music. Okay, now you have some wiggle room where that's a test. You can try that.
Sure.
But if we talk about Michigan or Grand Rapids, most of the music, and at least the project that I've been fortunate to be a part of, we're homegrown. We play our venues, we go to Traverse City, we do our thing, and it's all self-run. I think about Tommy Pansy's band, Candid Antics. Tommy runs that. He writes all of the music, with help from the band, for sure. Sure. But he mixed and mastered his last album in-house. He did it. He's the one booking shows. He's the one making all the calls. Now you would go and ask him, can you create this Web3 platform to help market your brand?
Yeah.
I don't know that he's into Web3 at all either. So it could even just be a sharp learning curve for the artist to get into this thing.
Absolutely.
Create it for their fans, which is even probably further, right? Away from that scope of hey, we know what you're talking about. We know what Web3 is. We already have a wallet, whatever the case is. There are so many layers removed. And even to just put money onto a wallet, right? MoonPay gets flagged. So one of the easiest ways to get money on a self-custody wallet is create a Coinbase account, connect your bank, because most banks at this point in time will allow that. But you have to do KYC, which means Social Security, birthday, picture, whatever the case, all the things. So you put $100 on Coinbase, after getting approved for a week. And then you have to figure out, how do I send? Then you create the wallet. Then you send the money to the wallet. Then you go on to some DAO, right? And you're just like, now I have to trade these things for these things. Like I'm getting caught in the stumbling of words because of how many layers it is just to move $1 from the current TradFi system into the Web3 system. It's not possible. It's not. That's my thought to the second part of that question. Is it important? Oh, sorry, Jake. I wanted to say something about what you said earlier.
Oh, please.
Just like the importance of Web3. Like, is it beneficial? Like, the reason that you guys started Art Arbor is to get this conversation going, and why you guys have this mission in Art Arbor to connect this Web3 thing. Like, this summer I got phone scammed for a bunch of information. They got social security number. They got my identity. That sucked, right? Mm-hmm. I did all the steps of like, okay, you got to lock this down. You got to lock this down. I'm fine, right? Mm-hmm. Probably. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. And to Jake's point, I'm probably safe. But if your social security your social security number, which first of all is important, right? In the US, which is directly tied to your bank account, your 401k, your credit score, everything that you need to operate in the world. How is it so easy to access and take? Like identity fraud is a massive thing in the US. If we had some sort of Web3 system that entailed some sort of data sovereignty, right? Like put your social security number on the blockchain, where when you need to use, like every time you fill out an application for a credit card, or every time you fill out an application for a job, there's your number. There's your number again. There's your number again. You're writing it on physical forms of paper, emailing it, taking pictures, sending it. Like, your numbers are everywhere. We think it's safe. It's not. They're everywhere. They're in your junk folder on your email. You get hacked. There's your, they'll find it somewhere. If it lives on the blockchain behind a Web3 wallet, the only people that can access it are you. And what would be great is, and this is possible, there's people working on this. How do you verify that information without giving it data, right? Data sovereignty. It'd be, hey, you're applying for this job. We need to verify that you are the actual person. Okay, Web3 wallet, boom, 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 connect. You don't share the information, but because the blockchain exists, the information that's stored on your wallet is verified. Right? Now, your employer doesn't have your social security number. They can't lose it. They can't have their own data breach, and there goes your data. It's still your data that you are verifying through the blockchain in a way that doesn't succumb you to attacks. That's a huge use case, I think, for Web3. And I know it's not so much like the music side, but that's such a pivotal part for every human, every person.
To your point, like you mentioned early on when we kind of got into Web3, you gave I thought it was a great 5 to 10 minute, basically just rundown of why crypto in this space is so wonderful. And I think so many of us, especially the three of us, know there's so many use cases. There's so many reasons to be on Web3. But, like we talked, it's just getting there. It's getting there. That's the hard part.
Yep. We've got a long way to go. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I think it's the main takeaway that we've had our own self-reflection on, like I mentioned, is it viable right now for most people to do that? Like, even like we said, like Andrew's partner, in the room with him cannot get it done. It's just we can't make up a fantasy that it's viable right now. It's really not viable because of the systems that exist. But what I want to bring home is that we shouldn't lose faith or hope or whatever in this system, because an example that you just brought up with data sovereignty, yes, absolutely. It's really the answer in the future to everything is owning our own data, owning our own assets, and owning those relationships that we have. And I think, the powers that be like have control over a lot of those things right now, and they don't want to give that up. So every time that I've struggled with this, I find inspiration in the hope of what could be, and not giving up on it and working towards it. And I think, we did a pod a couple episodes back about some news and things that are going on. I mean, there is a regulatory framework and some things going on in the federal government in the United States right now to help ease these things. Because I think, ultimately, institutions and businesses realize that this is the future. A big flag was Wall Street opening up, just in the first instance, Bitcoin ETFs, Bitcoin trading, ownership of Bitcoin investment products in general was a huge step. And I don't think they would have done that if they truly felt that they couldn't quell the force. Like they felt the force of Web3 coming, and they just want their piece of the pie in that, of course. But I think that we have to
want to be last. Yeah.
Yes. You can't be last. And if you have authority and power, you can't lose that power. So, I mean, I understand that that's a piece of it. And like I said, there is the good side of it where they're generally, like, the government, I feel like, does have some interest in, people not losing all their money, because then they can't pay taxes.
Yeah.
So
that's what they're like. Can you pay taxes? Just enough.
No, I lost all my money. Sorry. Oh, shoot. Okay.
Oh, was it from crypto? Okay, well then we'll make that hard.
We'll regulate that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is that side of it, but we have to continue to not just go back to the old model and be like, oh well, I'm just gonna keep uploading my music to Spotify and selling my tickets on Ticketmaster and banking with Chase. like if we succumb to that mindset, then we're really not escaping the matrix here, right? So
right.
Yeah,
I think it's just important to continue the conversation. And the pivot that we've taken is, we got into this in bits and pieces throughout this, but marketing and developing demand is the core problem here. The crypto piece is really the medium of exchange and ownership, but there's a with this drastic increase in supply and content that's out there, we know that really the scenario that we've came up with is like, what we had unlimited resources to build a platform, and the financial institutions approved everyone's transactions, and it was super easy, and everyone could get on Arbor right now and transact. Would you have the demand for it? Like, do you have, just realistically speaking, like hundreds of people that would come on to your page on our platform and start investing in you and investing in your art? And we feel that, there's definitely, we always bring up the example of Taylor Swift. Like, if Taylor Swift did that, she'd make double her money overnight, right? But it's like an artist of any size, whether you're just getting started or you're along the way, or you're even someone that's kind of in the end of their career but feeling left behind by technology. There's all these different avatars of artists out there, but everyone could benefit from this system if it existed. But ultimately, we feel that as a modern artist, that you need to have certain things in place to be able to reach people, which, again, everything is about meeting people where they are in the society and context of what it takes. And right now it really is being relevant in online, like in a search algorithm, in a content algorithm. Like, you have to be relevant, and that takes a lot of work and a lot of consistency of posting all these things and fine tuning, what time should I post and how do I get more followers? And that's the context of what we live in right now. And we feel that that's the best opportunity to serve people. So we have some things coming on that, but we don't want to lose sight either of where this exchange can go, because really it's a whole package that people need. I need an infrastructure to be able to transact and invest in artists, and I also need something that will create demand for me and have that flywheel effect of demand, where I have people investing in me, supporting me, and then being an advocate for me, and continuing that cycle and bringing other people in to support and advocate for art, and really building that community and weaving that all together, via an investment product where it's verified on the blockchain. Both parties have ownership of the asset, and that there's a continual relationship and re-engagement with with your base, not just, even, a one-time transaction or a recurring, rent-based behavior like Patreon, where it's like, I'm going to give you money. I get nothing back except you, spinning on your hamster wheel,
Yeah.
I want to say if to get to the artist, the creative out there, and just summarize, I think kind of where we're at. Is it possible to make money and to monetize it as an artist on Web3? Absolutely. We spent an entire weekend at VCon, and there was artist after artist. Like, yeah, I'm on. It's changed. It's great. I'm on there. But those people, I would say, are the outliers. If I was an artist starting today, or if I was an artist medium all the way through, or even if I was at the highest level, I would recommend that it's absolutely worth it to invest your time in learning about this. Maybe it will benefit your brand. That's on you to make that call, because in general, no, it's not worth moving on to there. Like we said.
Yeah.
But if you happen to have some wallet, if you have people who are already in the space, it could be very fruitful for you. If you appeal to those people who are already in the space, if you're able to kind of go viral within the community of those who have a wallet, sure, I would say, once again, there could be money to be made. It could be worth it for you then. But probably 9 times out of 10 to maybe 95 out of 100, I would say, don't lose hope. Spend your time, investigate, learn what it is for you, how it could be in your life and your brand. But I'm not saying, sink your current ship and jump onto Web3. Absolutely not. I would love it to be the case. Trust me. I would love to say, let's go, baby. But no.
And so I think an interesting thing that I think I can tie from Jake, what you had just said, and Andrew, what you had said. Jake, you were saying something like, do we have the demand to get people on there? And Andrew, you're saying, like, even if you didn't have the demand, if Web3 was just like this raging fire, then let's go, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you guys you've already started the podcast. Yes, you've done the payment, you've set up the rails for Web3. Even if you hadn't, and that's something you want to do in the future, what's cool is you guys are already doing this podcast. This is episode 13. By the time you guys get to episode 25 and episode 50 and episode 100, right? Like the podcast industry it's not oversaturated yet. There's room for this podcast. There's room for y'all's conversation to continue to make waves. So by the time you hit 100 episodes, maybe there are enough people within your pool of following that are like, I like what these guys are talking about. Your subscriptions are coming in. You're getting more views, whatever the case is. Well, now your pool of people who may or may not have some sort of introduction into Web3 might just be a little bit bigger, right? If you've got 10 followers and one of them is, interested in the Web3, cool, then you can do that. But out of 100, now you have 3 to 5 out of 1,000, whatever the case is, right? So the fact is, Jake, you're going to do this podcast regardless, right? You're gonna do this podcast regardless of the number of NFTs you guys can sell. And that is the product, right? You guys having this conversation is the product, and putting out good work with consistency is what creates branding. So you guys, I mean, it's the long, narrow path. You just stay on the long, narrow path long enough, and it usually works out. Out. And if that is the case, then by that time, there's enough product to be had, to absorb, to consume, that the Web3 might just, by the time you guys get to that point, Web3 might also be coming in and integrated at the right point. So that you might, I'm just wishing this upon y'all, that thing is going to happen like this. So much content and plenty of it, right? It's not just like one episode and this is like, no, these guys are talking about stuff for years, and they've got a bunch of episodes or a bunch of podcasts. You could start offshoot podcasts. Like,
that'd be kind of fun.
One of my favorite podcasters at the moment is Scott Galloway and Ed. I always forget his last name. Ed something. He's got Scott. What is his name?
No, I was just repeating the podcast so I can remember it.
So I think he's got like 7 podcasts under his name. He's a entrepreneur, philanthropist. He's done it all. I listen to one called Prof G Markets. He's just got Prof G something, and his whole thing is just like, people want this sort of content. People want good information. They want to have conversations. They want to be involved with some sort of community. This is how podcasting. This is how that community is created, through podcasting. The market's not oversaturated. Keep doing what you're doing. Make offshoots, whatever the case is, and the community will follow. Maybe in 5 years, Web3 will be ready to be integrated. And if you already have the following, then you're just like, you make a post to your 1 million followers. You're like, hey, we do this now. Oh, awesome. At least 50,000 of them are probably going to be like, yeah, I'm down. Yeah. So now you just got 50,000 people that just bought your NFT. Was it worth it to do it back in 2024? Yes, but it wasn't realized until 2030.
Yeah, it's planting the seed for sure, and that's why we're called Rooted. No, we love playing into our whole thing with the arbor and the roots and the seeds and the sunlight, the water, and all the things for plants. But yeah, it's definitely about growth. I mean, nothing's going to happen overnight, and that's why we're trying to action what we can now and working that demand side. We had to take a pivot, like when Chase Bank is denying MoonPay, we had to go and say, hey, pay in dollars on our Substack, and we're going to give you the same benefits, and we're just going to make it easy for you there. But the good thing with that, on OpenSea, there's no re-engagement or platform to like directly reach out to people anyways. So in the end, in one way, like, we really have enjoyed building our Substack more, where this podcast is delivered, where we can email everyone updates about what's going on, where we can still provide all those benefits, but just reach people where they are. And, we modeled that out. We have a launch kit for artists that for a project or for their career or whatever. There's multiple pieces in there that you can find on our Substack. Where we talk about the power of using something like Substack. I think Substack is an extremely powerful tool for a lot of voices, a lot of thinkers out there that want to directly reach people and not be algorithm dependent to deliver information to their audience. That's a really powerful tool. And, also it kind of modeling some of the behavior of Patreon, having a subscription. But I feel like Patreon, the only reason to go on Patreon is to get what you're paying for. But I think on Substack, there's almost a thought of like, I'm going to support this person, and whatever they deliver to me, there's not really a promise, but I'm just going to be involved with what they have going on.
It's a good support of goodwill, right?
Yeah. Like, they're going to cancel if they feel like they're not getting value from supporting that person. But I think there's a lot of good thinkers and a lot of good ideas going on Substack where, you are getting some benefit for, like in our case, we gave our founding members a sweater, some swag item, but we're also going to keep them in the loop as our beta group for our platform in the future. And we're coming up with some, exclusive content and ideas and things for artists. But we also offered, some of these ideas that we float on here, an individual consultation with artists for an hour to help them work through some of these things, and, continuing to offer value in building our community that way. So if anyone listening out there can replicate that model, that's what we're just trying to provide value for everyone and come up with solutions to current problems. But back to what you said about crypto meeting us where we are, I think that will be the case, and that's why we're just getting started, picking up steam here.
Just getting started.
It takes time to grow. I've got some grass seed in my front yard that is struggling, but I know it will grow into grass someday.
If you water it, someday it will grow into grass. Hopefully,
usually, or clovers,
or a bunch of weeds, or you're flowering weeds.
But
hopefully grass, something green, right? Something green.
Yeah, well, I think
sorry.
I think this is kind of a good resting place for the conversation here. I think a lot of passion and ideas were shared here today, and kind of across some different things. I think the key, and it's a good reinforcement of what we're doing, is through your career and your musicianship, Caleb, that community is important. And I think we're going to continue to be a sideman for artists and deliver that quality product.
Sideman for you,
and be the best sideman for artists being successful. So that's what we're going to continue to do. You're going to continue to do. We're excited to see what comes from your projects, and it was a real joy to have you on today.
Thanks for having me, y'all. This is a fun conversation. I very rarely get to talk about music and Web3 at the same time.
Let's go.
So this is fun. This is fun.
Perfect.
Wow. Well, looking forward to having you back on someday, I hope, or offline. We'll be in touch. Anytime, chat us up. But yeah, if you're listening out there, again, this was episode 13 of Rooted, the Art Arbor podcast with Caleb Elzinga. We'll have all the links in the description. Check it out. Follow what Caleb is up to. And also follow along with what we're up to. If you are listening, I'm sure you are already, but definitely check out a variety of music and things out there that Caleb has going. Definitely worth the watch or listen.
Let me know if you need a saxophone on your recordings.
Yes.
And I'm very happy to help.
Wonderful.
Well, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.